dedicated to each and every one of you who appreciate a great glass of wine. You know what I mean?
It's Monday. Let's raise a glass to the beginning of another week. It's time to unscrew, uncork, or saber a bottle, and let's begin exploring the wine glass. You all know how deeply I love Italy, the culture, the history, and of course the incredible diversity of its wines. Today, we are heading off the coast of Sicily to the stunning volcanic island of Lipari. This place is rugged, beautiful, and shaped by ancient wind and sea, which brings us to a winery that is making absolutely stunning expressions of this unique terroir, Tenuta di Castellaro. Through their incredible work with heroic viticulture, these wines don't just taste amazing, they literally transcend you right to those sun-drenched volcanic slopes overlooking the Mediterranean. We are doing a deep dive with a virtual tasted hosted by the estate, sharing the story behind these native varieties and the pure, salty mineral magic that brings to the glass. So pour yourself something good and let's head to Lipari. Please take a moment of your time to subscribe, rate, and review Exploring the Wine Glass. It's completely free and is a great way to let other wine lovers know about the podcast. Be sure to head over to the website exploringthewineglass.com to read my award-winning blog and to see what else I have been up to. And most of all, please tell your friends about the podcast. Sláinte.
Give me the wine. Oh, yeah.
Hey everybody, I'm Lori Budd, a UC Davis winemaking program, Spanish wine scholar, sommelier service, Champagne and Côte d'Aron specialist, and a WSET Level 2 graduate. You can find Exploring the Wine Glass on all the socials, as well as your favorite podcast catchers. If you haven't subscribed yet, now's the perfect time to swipe, subscribe, rate, and review. Stay in the know about all things wine by visiting my website, exploringthewineglass.com. I promise I'll never tell you what to drink, but I'll always share what's in my glass.
Irish coffee.
All right, so Tenuta di Castellaro, Lipari Island, which is somewhere a little bit north of the eastern side of Sicily, where there's an archipelago of 7 volcanic islands that draw a letter Y. An epsilon is what they will have called in the Greek times, because this area was dominated by the Greek before the Romans. So we're talking about the so-called Magna Graecia. So about 2,500 years, 3,000 years ago, the Greek were also bringing their own knowledge in the cultivation of anything coming from their lands, but including varieties such as Malvasia delle Lipari and Corinto Nero. As we're gonna explain, as we're gonna taste some of the wines, or as we're gonna narrate and boast a bit about the story of the cellar, you're gonna see these two names, Malvasia and Corinto, also come from a Greek heritage. So this project, Tenuta di Castellaro, was got started in 2005 when Massimo Lensch, which is an entrepreneur, a wine lover, a wine aficionado from the northern side of Italy, where his family is from South Tyrol, Austria, but he lives in Bergamo near Milan. And he was always in love with Sicily, but he never had the profile of an enologist or an agronomist. So he went on vacation in Lipari more than once, and he found these gigantic, I should say, at least for the standards of the Aeolian archipelago, plateau, a plain, where he envisioned something that was not existing back then. He had a really something in mind that you needed back then to be very innovative and creative, because yes, of course, there was a tradition of making wine even down there, and actually it's very from the old times. They've been making wines there since, again, 3,000 years ago, 2,500 years ago. So But in the more recent times, Malvasia delle Lipari Passito, the sweet wine, is one of the major sweet wines of Italy at the moment. It was the only DOC appellation. It was the only official wine you could have from this archipelago. So he decided, well, I found this place. How nice, how great it would be to make wine here. But I'm not an enologist. Again, I'm not a wine producer. I should become that, but I need some consultancy. So he called a few local people to.
Kevin is joining
Here's
us.
Kevin. Okay, let's wait for
Sorry,
him.
Kevin is joining us. Okay. Hi, Kevin. Good morning.
Ciao, Kevin. Nice to see you again.
Ciao. Mi dispiace.
No problem.
No
So
worry.
you know the beginning of the story, maybe, so we can bypass it for you. We already met in Denver a couple of times in the past, so you may remember the wines. So the slow wine tasting it was. Okay, so Castellaro 2005 started with the repropagation of these two indigenous grapes, Malvasia delle Lipari and Corinto Nero, which are grapes that again probably come from a Greek heritage. Massimo Lench, the owner, didn't have much knowledge about winemaking, but he had an idea, a vision. So he went down on the port and started to write on papers and posting those papers at the post office, at the butcher shop, at the grocery store. I'm looking for vineyards or plots of lands for sale. If someone wants to sell it, please contact this number. And it was in the morning. By 4 p.m., he already had 45 calls. Everyone was looking at okay, here come the stupid guy from the north with a lot of money that wants to waste his money in something crazy. And so everyone wanted to sell. And and there was a short period, like a few months of incredible marketing and crazy transactions with people that even involved relatives that were living abroad, no more in Italy, someone from Greece, someone in Australia, someone other already died, but they didn't realize that he was already dead. So everyone wanted to sell the land. And they didn't know that with a specific project, probably, they could have done wines that probably not necessarily the best wines in the world, but definitely have a specific character, wines that I call unicorn wines. They have nothing to do with anything else. So if you don't mind, I would like to share, let me see if I can do it. Okay, I'm showing you the scenario where it all started, and this vineyard, this short video already tells you a bit about the context, the fact that we work with the Alberello trading system, head trained bushes with a density of up to 9,000 vines per hectare, right in front of the sea. Of course, here it looks even closer than what it is, but it's 70 meters above sea level, and around us, other volcanoes. So this is the island called Volcano. In fact, this white one here, this building here, it has 1 Michelin star restaurants, and it's this area has become over the last few years a very attractive destination, most especially after COVID, because most especially when you were not supposed to travel abroad, we became some kind of the most exotic destination you could reach. And you usually come from either Rome or north or Milan, and you land in Catania, then you drive north and you reach firstly Messina, and then this town up here in the northeast called Milazzo. And from there, by hydrofoil, you reach the Aeolian archipelago. Once again, you see this letter Y that is made up of these 7 islands. Each island has its own character. Each island is a volcano. Some are active volcanoes. Stromboli is the even more active than Mount Etna. Volcano is also still a lot of activity. Lipari is a dying, dormant volcano, but underneath our vineyards, underneath the vineyard of the wine that you probably have tasted, Bianco Pomice, well, there's still ancient fumaroles that still bring sulfur, and so they are kind of a natural treatment to the vines. So Lipari is this highland that you see here. The vineyard of the video you just seen before, it's on the southernmost corner near the port, while the most of the vines and also the cellar is on the northern west side, so facing the Mediterranean Sea substantially, so facing the Maestrale wind. So it's Aeolian Islands. Aeolum is the god of the winds in the Greek culture. So this area, once again, for Kevin most especially, was dominated by the Greek before the Romans, etc. So, and the Greek, but also earlier the Phoenicians were used to come to Lipari because there was something very precious here. There was obsidian. Obsidian is a lavic stone that is obtained. It gets created when the lava, with a thermic shock, maybe meets the sea, which is cold, or because of the wind, it becomes like a sharp black glass. Some of you may have watched a very popular TV series called The Game of Thrones. Of course you did. So then the Game of Thrones, they call it dragon glass, but it's obsidian. It's again lava that over the millenniums, then it dries and it becomes pomace, just like the white wine you tasted or you're about to taste. So you see the terraces here. This is the first vineyard I showed you before. On the right, you see those terraces, right? You could fall headlong into the sea from there. So it's quite a different context. And this is the cellar. In front of us, Salina. Salina is popular also for sweet wines as well. Malvasia delle Lipari. Why they are called, this is an Italian wording. When you say Lipari is the name of the island, is the name also of the archipelago, because these are called Aeolian Islands, but also Lipari Islands. So when you write Malvasia delle Lipari, it means Malvasia of the Lipari Islands. Instead, if it was Malvasia from Lipari, sometimes it's misspelled Malvasia di Lipari, even in the Jensis Robinson book, The Wine Grapes, Malvasia di Lipari. It means Malvasia from Lipari Island. Instead, Malvasia delle Lipari, it means it could be made even in Stromboli or in another islands of the archipelago. So we have 21 hectares, only trained with the head-trained bushes, single saplings, single vines, walk one by one manually with no possibility of mechanization. And yes, the sundowns are every day like this. So on the, okay, by the way, here in this picture, I can already show you here, right in the foreground, here, right on the left, those are not vines, but they are caper bushes, caper plants, because we also produce capers and cucunci, the caper fruits, caper buds and caper fruits. So you see the saplings, and you see the on the left, the forest island, Alicudi, Filicudi, and Salina on the right. Alicudi here, you see it closer. Alicudi, in Alicudi, as far as I know, in the last survey, live less than 60 people. And also last survey leave about 96 donkeys. So in case of elections, if they vote united, they might make it. So that's Alicudi. On the right, you find Filicudi, another beautiful island with fantastic beaches, restaurants, great. When you want to really unplug, those are the two farthest islands, even if they look very close to us. This one instead in front of us here is Volcano, an island with much fantasy, just simply called Volcano. Okay, you see the smoke coming from the volcano. Of course, those volcanic material, the lapilli, the volcanic ash, always with the wind, aeolian wind, always comes to our soils and always renew the soil. So our soil is, of course, volcanic, but in a different way than what it would be at Mount Etna. So at Etna, the soil is so-called black, terre nere, okay? In Lipari, the soil is sandy, volcanic, sub-acid, full of sulfur, full of pumice, obsidian, kaolin. It's drastically different and drastically volcanic. That was Malvasia delle Lipari, and this is the tradition in the winemaking. So once again, here we are right in front of the sea. The sea looks closer than it is. It's not a infinity swimming pool here, but it looks like that. Here we are 70 meters above sea, about 70 meters above sea level. And you see here that we are harvesting the grapes of Malvasia and a bit of Corinto as well, which is the black grapes you see, you barely see in the middle there, where that we dry right in front of the sea. So we have the waves crashing on the rocks underneath, and the breeze takes the salinity towards these grapes drying there. So the wines, even the sweet wine, has this kind of salty finish. And in all of the wines, there are beautiful pictures. There are these, there is this kind of continuum in terms of saltiness, brackishness, even in the reds. Okay, you see these pictures? Well, this is, from this picture, you can appreciate the geometric order and the quincunx system, in which each vine is at the top of an ideal triangle with the with each vine at a distance of 1 meter, 1.10 far from the other. So once again, there's no tractor, no mechanization so far that can enter those vineyards. And so everything is done manually with a cost of production that, trust me, is higher than, I don't know, many chateaux that you surely love. And Castellaro, in the end, is, as you've seen from the pictures so far, is not just a project about doing wine, making wine, but also is a landscape project, because this area was all restored and cleaned and given, and it was given back to life in a new life. And also, I would say, a social project, because, you know, to work these plots with these terraces, in this case, the highest one is about 500 meters. The lowest one here is 350 meters above sea level. So we could call high hill agriculture, this one. So in order to work these lands, you need manpower, you need workers that have a reason to wake up 4, 5 a.m. in the morning and go in those vineyards and work the vines as long as the sun allows. Because once again, if you go on Wikipedia and you look at the numbers of Lipari, Wikipedia will tell you that there are about 13,000 people registered that in Lipari, that supposedly live in Lipari. Instead, they are way much less. They are. But in the summer, there's a turnover of about 55,000 people a week. We even have your dear friend, Jeff Bezos, very often, by the way. He has his boat all the time on the Aeolian Islands. Anyway, so I was more seriously, so most of the younger generation, the newest generations, went abroad, went to Milan, to Rome, to London, to New York. Many have relatives in Australia because there's a big community of Aeolian people, most especially from Lipari and Salina, that moved to Australia like 100 years ago, 80 years ago, after the Second World War, etc. So Massimo Lench, owner of Tenuta di Castellaro, gave a reason for these families, which otherwise, if they really wanted to stay in Lipari, they should have worked maybe in the tourism or as fishermen. There's not much to do. By October, you already go onto lethargy there. So giving a salary that made them happy enough to stay and to have their families to continue living in Lipari Island. The cellar is obtained by digging from the top to the bottom. So it's not only the outside that is incredible, but also the inside and the underground cellar that you're watching now. So these pillars, these columns that you see, they are obtained by digging from the top to the bottom. And what remains, those layers, maybe next picture, yes, this picture shows it better. You see those white layers, those are, for instance, layers of pumice. So these pillars show 22,000 years of volcanic history of Lipari Island. So, also back to this picture, you see those solar chimneys up above. Of course, this picture is taken while we turn on the lightning. But for instance, is that this one, next one probably, yes, this is natural daylight. So we can work in an autarkic system in the day with a tower of the winds that from the top of the cellar exploits in the coolest moment of the night the winds of the Aeolian Islands, and with a thermal labyrinth keeps the temperature constant all the time of the day, any time of the year, at 14.5 Celsius degrees. So we can work without electricity substantially, and we can work by gravity because this winery is 2 floors down, let's say. As said, we have also capers. This beautiful picture is taken while we harvest. Actually, we did harvest the new capers less than 2 weeks ago. And you see there are 3 generations of local people that still work the land with us. These are cucunci. Sometimes you find them in the cocktails, though. This is the caper fruit. Massimo Lench, owner of Tenuta di Castellaro. Bianco Pomice. Bianco Pomice, talking about the wines, is a combination of 2 opposites. It's a wine that if you ever come to Sicily, if you go to the most popular trattorias and restaurants since a few years now, we can really claim you find it mostly everywhere. It's a blend of Malvasia delle Lipari and Carricante. So once again, a combination of 2 grapes that have not that much in common, because you probably know Carricante because of Etna Bianco, etc. Carricante is sharp, it's mineral, it can be crunchy, crispy. Malvasia delle Lipari, it's a semi-aromatic grape, which is not the general Malvasia. There are plenty of Malvasia. The Malvasia delle Lipari, the word Malvasia is just like Trebbiano, you know, Trebbiano d'Abruzzo, Trebbiano Spoletino. I'm from Umbria, I know Trebbiano Spoletino. Trebbiano Toscano, which is usually flat. And in fact, many wineries from Tuscany now are planting Trebbiano Spoletino. They are claiming that is Trebbiano Toscano, but that's another story. The Uni Blanc in France, which is nothing else than regular Trebbiano, etc. It means wine of the place, indigenous of the place. Instead, Malvasia delle Lipari, the word Malvasia comes from Menomvasia, which is an ancient Greek polis. Malvasia delle Lipari, it comes from the Aeolian Islands. So Malvasia delle Lipari is a semi-aromatic blended with the Carricante, and usually stays on the lees for no less than 9-10 months, and then is bottled. Then according to the vintage, the protocol can change a bit. When it's a very cold vintage, and it can happen, we also use wood. When it's it's a regular or warmer vintage, we do not use any wood at all. But Bianco Pomice was the very first label that this seller released back in 2008. So the very first vintage of Bianco Pomice is 2008. Pomis, once again, what it is? It's another lavic stone that originally, as I was mentioning in the beginning, lava, when the volcano erupts, comes from flows maybe from a side of the volcano and then reaches the sea, or because of the very strong winds, with a thermic shock, becomes a sharp black glass. That's called obsidian, dragon glass on the Game of Thrones. Okay, then it's over the millenniums, it dries and it becomes exactly these very light stones that you can also use to clean the skin, to scratch the skin. And it's very easy to. Our beaches are white. This is obsidian instead. Our beaches are white, but not because we have white sand, but because we have all of these pebbles of pumice. So those are volcanic stones that if you walk around our vineyards, you find everywhere. It's really plenty of, even of obsidian, that nowadays is mostly used for ornamental jewels or something like that. But in the past, it was very precious because it was the Romans, but before the Romans, the Phoenicians, the Greek were used to come to Lipari to grab as much obsidian they could to produce arrowheads or knives or tool to cut. And this is kaolin, pink. Kaolin, there's a quarry of kaolin underneath our vineyards, and it's an incredible scenario there, right in front of the sea, but at 400 meters, 350, 400 meters above sea level. So once again, it's volcanic, but not what you, sometimes the word volcanic, most especially in France and in Italy, is a bit, I would say, overused and a bit used too easily, or at least, of course, also Vulture in Basilicata, where they make Aglianico, or even Soave is a volcanic territory, but it's not as volcanic as Lipari or the Aeolian Islands or Etna. So these are really active volcano. Vulture maybe is not working since, I don't know, 100,000 years. This is yesterday. So, and also look at this picture, just to show you how it can be. This is the tastings at sundown at Tenuta di Castellaro. That's why we have 11,000 visitors a year. So I stopped I stopped sharing the screen, and I tell you a bit more about the wines that we are tasting. So Bianco Pomice, again, combination of two different grapes, one very crunchy and crispy and one a bit more aromatic, not sweet at all, but of course it's part of the family of the Malvasia, or the general Malvasias. You find Malvasia di Bossa, Malvasia Istriana, but this is that kind of vibe, but it's another DNA, another grape. Also on Jensis Robinson, Ian Douglas' book, it has its own profile. The red wine, I believe you have the Nero Sidiana, correct? Which red wine you have? Yes, the Nero Sidiana is the different twin of the Bianco Pomice. I know Michael didn't receive the samples. I don't know what happened, but we will find a way. You are in DC, right? Yes, I was in DC last September. We worked with Le Storie there, which is a popular Italian. They have very good portfolio. Probably I'm coming back once again in September. If we are not able to deliver by then, I promise I will load some bottles with me when I travel. Okay. But we will find a way. We will find a way. By the way, I believe Michael Upstein tasted our wines last year or a couple of years ago. Last year, supposedly, I believe it was last year. So Nero Sidiana is the other classic from Tenuta di Castellaro. It's a wine based on this very mysterious grape called Corinto. Corinto Nero. Well, there is also we also add the second word Nero because we discovered that there's also Corinto Bianco, and Corinto Bianco between parentheses has something to do with the grape as Pedro Jimenez. Is part of that. It's a progenitor of the Pedro Jimenez. Anyway, Corinto Nero. Some say it is has is not an ancestor, has something to do with Sangiovese. Some others say talk about Nerello Mascalese. Many told us also recently that there's a study that says it has something to do with Sangiovese. But then, if we taste the wine, it has nothing to do with Sangiovese. So nothing, really nothing. Still, well, the only thing that it does a good acidity and a low pH. And if you notice on the back label, usually we barely reach 13 content of alcohol. Sometimes it has been in the past even difficult to reach 13. So it's kind of a very different wine from what you usually expect from the deep south of Italy. From the deep south of Italy, from central south of Italy. Now, I'm from Umbria, and here there is the big monster called Sagrantino. If you go southern, you find Montepulciano d'Abruzzo. You go southern, there is Aglianico with its different appellations, Taurasi, Vulture, etc. In Puglia, there is the Stichi Primitivo. In Calabria, Magliocco Canino. If you go to Sicily, the main Sicily, the most popular grape is still Nero d'Avola, which is also very redundant and jammy. Well, our red wines instead are almost like white wines in disguise, because they have high acidity. That means around 6 point something, low pH, just around 3.0, and low alcohol, not big tannins, no herbaceous flavors, no green sensations. Why? Because of a number of components, a number of reasons. But Corinto, first of all, it's a partially a seedless grape. So there's only one central seed from which the vine feeds the berry. So when you make the wine, it's just pulp, juice, no not the tannins. Yes, there are tannins, of course. There are the skin is there, so, and it gives color, etc. But it's not the big, bold, pompous red wine you find in the rest of south of Italy. and most especially with the weather, with the change of the temperature that we are facing since the last 20 years, still we barely, it's quite a mistake because still we barely reach 13.5 is really a hot vintage where we get it. So Contovalco. So Corinto also is trained in on sandy soils, sandy volcanic soils. So soil is fertile, but it's poor. It's not clayish. So it's not a hard soil like here in Umbria is all clay. The sun beats on us all the time, and it's impossible to ripen Sagrantino if you without reaching 15.5 Contovalco. When you read the 14, it's they're faking it just to pay less taxes, simply. So Corinto is a very unique grape that plays a game that probably you don't expect from that latitude, because it's, of course, the feel is a very Mediterranean wine, but the taste, but also the result in the end, the final result, it's a continental wine. If you place these red wines into a glassette for 20 minutes, 30 minutes, this is a quintessential summer red wine. So you definitely understand that is a wine that comes from the coast. It's a coastal wine. It's a Mediterranean wine. But if you think about all of the other red wines that I mentioned before, of course, this they taste more like something from France, something from Austria eventually. Definitely not from the south of Italy. Etna, even Etna, we know Etna because we have a property also there. Massimo Lenci has its own labels there, and we make Nerello Mascalese, Caricano. We know Etna pretty well, 13 hectares. So, and but Etna, when it's the best Etnas nowadays, easily reach 14.5 content of alcohol, easily. The best producers, they're all already there. So Tenuta di Castellaro is a kind of exception to the rule for the south of Italy. And Kevin, what else do you have there? So I've seen that you have other wines, other wine. And then we have the Corinto, the pure Corinto. So Corinto is the opportunity for also for you to taste substantially one of the last undiscovered grapes of Italy, and of, we should say, also of Greece. Now there are a few other producers. There's a couple of producers from Salina that come to Lipari to harvest Corinto and bring it back to Salina, and it becomes from Salina, but is made in Lipari. Of course, in Greece there are producers that still make Corinto. You know, Corinto in the past was like it was used also to produce raisin, to produce sweet raisin substantially. But at the moment, as far as we know, we are the biggest producer in Europe for this variety. That means that we don't have so much because of the Corinto year old, and we only make 3,300 bottles a year, not that much. And in America, there are very few bottles. Really, I believe we shipped less than 120 bottles last year. Really, it's still a wine that needs. That's why we're doing this in the end, because it's still a wine that people don't know. There's still the news with this stuff, because once again, there are no wines for a casual drinker, but for someone who does, I would say, our job, which is about communication. You know, I always say to restaurateurs, to maître, to who leads a wine shop, of course, there's people that enter a wine shop, they already know they want that Pinot Grigio there, they want that Amarone there, etc. But there are also some people that want guidance, they want to travel with a bottle of wine. And with this stuff, you really do, because you are really in a fantasy land where we make unicorn wines that have nothing to do with any other terroir of Italy. And once again, in a world where everyone has tasted everything, everyone wants to play the wine expert, the wine aficionado, the wine connoisseur, the collector, to let them taste a bottle like the Corinto is still. When was the last time I felt emotional about a bottle of wine? Of course, I know Corinto since a few years. It's not Corinto. Recently, I was really impressed, by the way, for example, by Mamoiada, which is in Sardinia at 800 meters above sea level. It is the pinnacle, the apex of Grenache in Italy. So there they make incredible wines you do not expect from. I always thought Sardinia must be making big, bold, aggressive wines. And Corinto can play the same role to someone who's approaching to it for the first time. And the beauty of this stuff is that really we got the news here, because we still have something that people can enjoy reading, can enjoy exploring, and will remember probably that we were the ones that gave the message, brought the message to them. And that's it, I believe. Now, well, we can discuss as long as you want, of course, the wines we have. If you have any question, I'm happy to answer. What I can tell you.
I've got a question for you, or a couple of
them.
Yeah,
sure.
Sorry, I've asked. Yeah, and sorry for the interruption earlier. I didn't realize my mic was off. I've got a couple of office mates who came by. Real quick, can you give us the production number? So you mentioned there's 3,300 of the Corinto bottles made. The other two wines, the Nero Ossidiana.
Now, those are a bit more, but not that much more, because Nero Ossidiana, it's a bit less than 10,000 bottles. It depends on the vintage. For instance, I've been working with Tenuta di Castellaro since 2018, and there were vintages where we only made 6,000 bottles, and there were vintages we make 12,000 bottles. The vintage you hold is probably the 2021, if I don't get wrong, and and the 2021 was a very good vintage, by the way, and it's 11,000 bottles, 10 to 11,000 bottles. Bianco Pomice more, it's 15,000 bottles.
Okay. And then,
which is not that much anyway, because of course I didn't say that these wines are in Italy organic certified, etc., etc. In total, we produce 70,000 bottles a year from an archipelago of an archipelago of islands, where it's mostly IGT wines, no appellation, no big appellation there. 70,000 is already a number. And from 21 hectares that we have, we could make more, but the yields, most especially for those two major grapes, because Carricante is very easy. Carricante that we have in the Bianco Pomice, it can grow anywhere. Nero d'Avola is easy. We also have Moscato for another wine, Moscato Bianco, which is the Sicilian clone. But Malvasia delle Lipari suffers a lot to wind. And Corinto is not the most beautiful cluster you will ever see. It's extremely small. And with a plant, forget about making equalizing one vine, one bottle. No. Maybe with the Sangiovese you can do, with Nerello Mascalese you can easily do it. With Corinto you need 2 or 3 plants to make a bottle of wine. So it's not that's also why few make this grape, because it's not the most cost efficient varietal that you can attend.
And then the other question I had for you is, how much of this production do you send to the United States, and how important is on-site sales for you? I know that you've got some hospitality there. You have some places that people can stay in the vineyard. And I know, so for me, like when I'm thinking about storytelling and telling people, like I've been getting a lot of pushback from my readers on wines that are really, really small production because they have a hard time finding them. But sometimes if there's a travel angle to it, or there's some sort of, so I'm just trying to understand a little bit how that works for your business in terms of how much you export, how important everything is for you on site.
We have plenty of distributors in America. The major importer is called Nassanoy, which is substantially a national importer. They also have Aldo Conterno, Bruno Paillard, these famous brands. And but that is in Denver, I believe they have you have Maverick as a distributor there probably. So as Maverick distributing wines, even if maybe, I don't know if we shouldn't say since Cinzia is recording, but I don't know if we are in the right portfolio, because it's a lasagna of a portfolio like this. So we are a bit hidden inside there. In DC, we work with Lestoria, which is an Italian specialist. Lori, where are you? If you can. California, we have Massenoy, but direct. And in Massachusetts we have Vineyard Road. I don't remember everyone's coming from. Pennsylvania we have Laura Wine Group from Pittsburgh. We have different distributors, but all have little quantities, because it's not a wine with which they move big numbers. Honestly, they don't. It's more like something unique for the niches, I would say, something very peculiar. So yes, we do export, and the percentage to America is like around the 15% of the whole production. 15. Then we ship to another 24 countries around the world. In Europe, England, Germany, Denmark, Switzerland, Norway, Sweden, France, blah, blah, blah. In Asia, we are big in Japan. No, but we are popular also there. We have many restaurants in Tokyo that have our wines. South Korea, Thailand, Hong Kong, a bit in China, Australia. So here and there, but small quantities. We're not talking about. Sometimes it's half a pallet. We also have a distributor, very good one in Minnesota. It's called New France Wine. It's the best in Minnesota, but it's less than a half a pallet a year. So just to tell you. Then answering your other question about visits. Yes, we have really many people from everywhere in the world. Many from Italy, of course, also from the US. I should say around an estimate should be around 700 people a year from the US. We have even groups, because there are some tour agencies, some agencies that organize wine tours, gastronomic tours to Sicily, and we are part of that trip. And it's also something it's beautiful. We also have 3 little apartments immersed in the vineyards, which are astonishing. So you sleep. Sometimes I'm even scared to sleep there, because when you have to walk in the night, you have this wind, but you're by yourself in the middle of nowhere what it's incredible, most especially coming from big city, even in Italy, but from the US even more, when you are in Lipari and you look at the sky, you really see the entire Via Lactea, the entire galaxy. You see all the constellations, because there's not much lightning around. So you can really go out to see the stars there. And so, yes, it's definitely a destination. I can tell you it's worth. My recommendation would to go in September, October, May, where there's not so many tourists, because again, Lipari, but also the other islands. In Lipari, from the 15th of June to the first week of September, we have a turnover of 55,000 visitors a year. So in the hydrofoil that goes from Milazzo to Lipari, that takes an hour and 10 minutes or so, you are packed like a sardine in a crushed-in box. So better going not in the high season, but when it's the weather is better and there's less people around. There's a lot of excursionists coming from Germany, for instance. They come just to rise at the top of these volcanoes. It's incredible landscapes. Really, someone who likes hiking, it's incredible.
Sorry to ask so many tourism questions, but just one last one real quick. Do a lot of people visit the island for the day and then go back to Sicily for the night? Because there's not many hotels.
Both. You can do both. The other day we had our importer from Basel, Switzerland. They were staying in Milazzo, and they did back and forth. The first hydrofall in the early morning, like at 8, and then they got the last one at 7:30 p.m. in the evening. So, but you can also, there's plenty of B&Bs, hotels, rooms, really many. And so many actually, and then there are also people that can come by boats, of course. So because there are many that, and I believe in a few months there should a movie filmed by director Christopher Nolan, which in America I believe should be very popular, called The Odyssey. Well, you're gonna watch it.
One of my favorites.
It was filmed in Lipari. So, for instance, Ben Affleck, Zendaya, all of these Hollywood superstars were eating every day in Lipari Island at the restaurants down there. So, but not many others, I believe. If you look at the cast, there's many famous names. So we're looking forward to watch it. There was also a couple of years ago Michael Jordan. We had famous singer. I remember the name. Well, another American singer. Okay, I don't remember now. That she loved our rosé, etc. So yeah, it's a destination that's becoming a bit more popular, but don't be scared. It's not as posh as Cannes or I don't know,
Capri or something. Yeah.
No, Costiera Amalfitana. It's not even like that. It's still real.
And I have one last question on the wines, the 2 red wines. Do you can you speak a little bit about serving temperature for those red wines? Because they're low tannin, and a lot of somms that I talk with are really interested in chillable reds. And then secondly, what's the serving context on the island with the red wines? What types of cuisine do you?
Good. Okay, so I like to nowadays, not only those 2 wines. Today it's extremely hot. Tonight I'm going out with some friends from importers from Pennsylvania that cross by, and we're going out to dinner. We will surely order a bottle of red wine, but with this weather, we need a wine lightly chilled, even the red wine. Of course, if we're having with this temperature and those wines, most especially, I believe the right service temperature is 13 Celsius, 14 Celsius. Also because, Kevin, as you put them out of the ice bucket, as you put them out of the fridge, they quickly raise their temperature. And also, as we drink, our own temperature rises. So I believe it's no more time for drinking a wine at the so-called room temperature, even in the winter at 20, 21. I drink a Barolo in the winter easily. I like it at 17, no more, 17 Celsius. Instead about the recipes, of course, when you come to a Mediterranean context, you have white wines in mind. But the uva nera marina, the maritime black grape, that is Corinto Nero, works very well also with more elaborated seafood dishes. And what is the classic example that I could give you? When you read the menus of most of the restaurants, usually of local restaurants, but not only in Lipari, also in Sicily in general, at least in the northern east side or the southern east side of Sicily, you often find a recipe called sea bass or grouper alla eoliana, Aeolian way. How it is made? It's very simple. It's just a raw fish with capers, olives, tomatoes. That's it. So in the oven or cooked or in the pan, cooked like that. And with that sauce, red sauce, you definitely want a red wine. Maybe you surely know in the Tuscan coast, they do the so-called caciucco, which is a soup of seafood. And they use Bulgari wines with that dish, so trust me if I can tell you that those light red wines, those white wines in disguise that I mentioned before, they can really do their job with those dishes. Then, of course, if you do eggplant, whatever eggplant in Sicily, eggplant is like the queen. So Parmigiana is a dish. The words say Parmigiana, so it should be from Parma, yes, but it's made also in the south of Italy and with better aubergines and with a better eggplant than in the north. So Parmigiana, perfect. Something sweet and sour. Sometimes we do have, surely you've heard of, you tasted the caponata. Caponata is made of different kind of vegetables, pepperoni, peppers, and zucchini, eggplant, onion, and we also add tuna fish. So tuna fish, and it's a red dish. Once again, when the dish leans towards a color that is red or dark, in my opinion, usually a red wine makes sense. If it's a summer dish, or if it's something made with tomatoes and eventually fish, those two reds work very well. I don't see them with the braised meats, stew, game, none of that stuff, honestly. I will leave those dishes to Sagrantino, Amarone, and Bulgari. Really happy to have the opportunity, and thanks Cinzia and AB, we call it, Comunicazione, for introducing us. I'm sure we're going to have more and more opportunities to talk in the future, because the world of wine is very small in the end. It's always us. Unfortunately, it's maybe even too small now, because everyone's complaining about the world of wine, just like we have to save the world. We just have to have fun in the world of wine. So it's all about that. It's about the social aspect more than the business. So I hope to shake hands and have a glass of wine with you, hopefully soon.
This has been another episode of Exploring the Wine Glass. Thanks for listening. If you have suggestions on what topics you would like me to discuss, please reach out on social media. You can find me on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook as Exploring the Wine Glass. I am also on LinkedIn as Lori Hoyt-Budd. Of course, you can always email me at exploringthewineglass@gmail.com. and sign up for my newsletter at exploringthewineglass.com. If you enjoyed what you heard, please rate, review, and subscribe to help others find me more easily. And most importantly, tell your wine-loving friends, because if you like the podcast, they will too. Podcast music is Wine by Kevins. Until next week, slancha!